form what we term the super basin. Those perennial yields were essentially erased, and the amount of pumping allowed within the super basin was reduced to 8,000 acre feet per year.
Okay. So up until the time of Order 1309, 1303, 1309, the source and supply, as you described it previously, in the Coyote Springs Basin, 18,000 acre feet would have been accurate. And then 1303 and 1309 would then modify that or change that.
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to talk about that next. But before we do, let me just ask you, in your experience, would either of these statements that we've just been describing about existing rights or about retaining the right to regulate, would that have informed CSI that there would someday be a creation of this super basin?
No.
How about that there would be a reordering of the priority of rights within the super basin?
No.
Okay. And how about that a pumping cap would be cited for disallowing CSI to use its water for the construction of homes?
No.
All right. If we could, please, let's go to a page in your report, and your report is Exhibit 283, and we're gonna go to a page there, which is Exhibit 283. It's not a proffered exhibit, Your Honor. It's his report, but there'll be some exhibits that will pull out of that. But for now, it's Exhibit 283, just by way of reference. And I'm going to be looking at page 17, base number 017 of that report. And this is a table 2 that is in your report. And is this a document that you recognize, Mr. Richards?
Yes.
And how do you recognize it?
I created it.
Okay. And can you please describe for the court what it is?
In general, it's a summary of CSI water rights and basin numbers 210 and 206, Coyote Springs Basin 210 and Cane Springs Basin 206.
Okay. And we see a lot of information here. For right now, can we just magnify that first box, Hunter? Let's just kind of focus on that. So, and if you can maybe just include the heading to that first box, above it, Hunter, just so we know it's the calories. There we go. Right. All right. So I'd like to focus your attention here for just a moment. And if you could please describe what we're looking at here. You said that we were taking a look at Basin 210, but this is and Basin 206. This is Basin 210. And just explain, just to the judge, what is being shown in this chart here.
So this chart is showing CSI's current permit numbers, and it also shows how the original water rights that changed application 46777 had additional transfers of points of diversion. So, for example, the two first rows in the table show permit number 70429, and as indicated in the notes, that application was filed to change the point of diversion, the place of use, and the manner of use of a portion of application 46777. And that portion was 2,500 acre feet per year. And similarly, permit number 70430 was also originally filed to change a portion of application 46777. That has changed the point of diversion, the place of use, and the manner of use, equivalent to 2,100 acre feet.
Okay. So we see in that second column, as you noted, different permit numbers, and I think we've seen all of these just about in this case, I believe all of them. Is this just a way to summarize what happened to the different sub permits to 46777?
Yes, the different change applications.
Okay. And so that's one point that's being shown there in that second column, just by permit number. These are the sub permits from 4677. And then if you go over to the second column, you see there's a certificate number. And what is that?
That shows that permit number 70429 was issued a certificate. The certificate number 17035, and the certificate was issued based on a showing of proof of beneficial use.
Okay, thank you. And if we continue across, I'm going to come back to priority date. It seems like they're all the same priority date, 1983. Is that because it's just permit 46777?
Priority date is the date that permit, or I should say application 46777 was filed.
Okay.
Yes.
Then if we continue over to the next column, we've got current owner of record, and we can see who that is for each of these permits. And then I want to just continue over to then the quantity. And can you just describe in general what that column is explaining?
The quantity column breaks down the individual water duties or allowable pumping for each of the permits in acre feet per year, with the totals at the bottom, which amount to a total of 4,600 acre feet, including 460 acre feet that was relinquished for the Moaba days, which leaves the total of 4,140 acre feet of water rights.
So if we come down and we just add those two numbers there, this is going to be 4,140 acre feet. And that's then consistent with what Ms. Cargill prepared, Courts Exhibit 13 that we looked at before. Is that correct?
Yes.
So your number matches her number?
Yes.
Okay. Now, just for clarification, we've heard in this trial that CSI has 1,500 acre feet of certified water. And I note over here on the very first row that you've got 1,200, you got the certification there, which you just described in that first row as certification number 17035. If you come across, we got the quantity is 1,250 feet. So can you just explain, is it 1,250 feet or is it 1,500 acre feet? And if so, how do you explain that?
It's 1,500 acre feet. And as indicated in the notes column, associated with permit number 91200.
Almost at the very bottom.
The second row from the bottom.
Second row from the bottom, yep.
Thank you. A portion of permit number 70429, a portion of the certificated water right was changed by application 91200. The point of diversion was changed.
That's it. Yeah. And Hunter, just highlight that whole row there that you were on. All right. So that's where the other 250's at. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And so then combined, that makes 1,500 acre feet of certified water.
Certificated water, yes.
Certificated water. Very well. Okay. Thank you. Now let's go now to then that middle chart. Could you please highlight or magnify that, Hunter? And would you just explain what was this middle chart describing?
The middle chart summarizes permit number 77340 and its associated secondary permits ending in SO1 and SO2. And this permit was filed for reclaimed water in the amount of 3,359 acre feet.
Okay. What does that mean? Is that water the same as the 4,140 or different from?
It would be a portion of the 4140 that would be recycled and subsequently used for the secondary purposes, which are indicated under SO1 and SO2, irrigation use, dust control, some potential use for aggregate and soil compaction, et cetera.
Okay, all right, so this is that affluent water that we've heard about, and you're just simply recording based on the permits, how many acre feet would be able to be basically reclaimed and then used on the golf course or irrigation or other purposes that we talked about through the course of the trial?
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, this last block is Cane Springs Basin 206. What's being depicted here?
In this table depicts the permits that are associated with Coyote Springs water rights or options to purchase water rights in the Cane Springs Valley Basin 206.
All right, and we see different permits issued here. Same thing in those columns. We can come across and can see who the current owner of records are. We can see what the total acre foot is. And it may be a little bit confusing because we've heard that there's 1,000 acre feet available, or 1,000 acre feet, I guess, attributable to Coyote Springs based on various witnesses' testimony. And it looks like you've got 500, 500, 500, 500. You can total that to be 2,000. So can you explain how this total amount relates to the 1,000 acre feet that we've heard about?
Yes, so each of these 4 permits were assigned a duty of 500 acre feet individually. However, the 2 permits, for example, 72220 and 72221, are only allowed a combined duty in total of 500 acre feet. And the same is true with the other 2 permits, 82727 and 82728. Individually, they were granted 500 acre feet annually, but there's also a provision in the permits that indicate no more than 500 acre feet combined use under these 2 permits are allowed. So,
okay, so what's the total then?
So the actual total allowed for use is no more than 1,000 acre feet.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Your Honor, I thought that this was a separate exhibit. It is the witness's expert report, but I would offer this as exhibit next in line for us.
Objection hearsay, Your Honor.
Just get a quick, just a number real quick.
The number would be 555.
Okay.
Is this gonna be a hard copy?
Yes. Well, this would be, yes, however we would have that. It's just the next in line. Yeah, would be hard copy. That would, if it's admitted, yes. John, to address the hearsay objection, this is all testimony. This is all evidence that's already in. And I would just present it as a summary under NRS 52.275.
It's still hearsay, Your Honor. The evidence is already in, then it's also cumulative. So there's no exception to publishing a portion of it. I didn't hear your ruling, Your Honor.
Objections overruled.
I didn't hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. What is the significance of these 1,500 acre feet of certificated water rights? Just what's the certificate, the importance, or I guess the significance of certificated water rights?
Certificated water rights are significant in that the original permit terms require your water rights to be put to beneficial use by a specific date, or they're subject to cancellation. And so the significance here is that Coyote Springs was diligent in the pursuit of constructing the works required to put the water to beneficial use, and they were diligent in putting the water to beneficial use in accordance and required by the terms of their permits.
Thank you. Let's turn now to a ruling that we've heard a lot of in this case. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I would like to get your expert opinion on it. This is ruling 4542, and this is admitted exhibit 99. And just by way of background, we've heard about how ruling 4542 relates to permit 4677. It's the ruling that resulted in that permit. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
All right. So let's turn to that. But before I do that, just in general, you had mentioned that the priority date in your prior testimony on Friday, that the priority date for permit 46777, the Nevada power permit initially that CSI then acquired, had a priority date, I believe, which was October 31st, 1983. Am I remembering that right? Or March 31st? I think it's March 31st. March 31st, 1983. Maybe I'm remembering Halloween. March 31st, 1983. That was the application date for that permit. And then ruling 4542 comes out, and we can take a look at that. We've seen that before, but Hunter, if we can just turn to exhibit 99 and we go to the last page to remind us when this was issued. That's on page 17, I'm sorry, 017. So right there at the bottom, very bottom, yeah. You can see that it looks like that this 4542 was issued on the 18th day of June, 1997. And my question for you is there a significance to you as a professional engineer in the water rights arena that there was like almost 14 years or maybe over 14 years that passed from the time that the application was submitted for 46777 and the ruling 4542 came out approving that permit?
Yes.
What is that significance?
Well, the original application was protested. So typically when applications are protested, there's more time and consideration given to both what the application is proposing and time consideration given to the merits of the protests. So that played into the time between the date the application was filed and this ruling. In addition to that, as indicated in the ruling, there were applications filed by Wapa Valley Water District, I believe, and in the interim period. And there was a hearing conducted on those applications, and the conclusions and the evidence and the conclusions that were associated with those applications and the hearing were considered and are summarized in this ruling. So I think that also played into the time period.
Okay. So you got to consider the application, deal with the protests, and maybe have and analyze those and have a hearing, and anything else that passage of time would represent to you in terms of what was happening.
And just in general, those two things were probably the primary result of the passage of time.
Okay. Do you know whether there were any pump tests that were conducted?
This ruling describes pump tests that were conducted during the period of 1992, 93, I think it was.
That would have been also things that were going on during this 14-year period of time?
Yes, things that were going on and associated with the applications that were filed by Moapa Valley Water District.
Thank you. And if we turn to page 14 of this ruling, we've seen this numerous times, just that middle section there. Yep. How does the state engineer's findings here, 1 through 3, relate to your first opinion that you expressed to the judge?
They essentially repeat what my opinion stated, and that is that state engineer is required to determine whether there's water available for appropriation. State engineer is required to determine whether the proposed use of the water conflicts with existing rights and whether the proposed use threatens to prove detrimental to the public interest.
And you can then also see there's a reference to the perennial yield, or at least the water available in that section below those findings. Do you see that?
Yes.
All right, 18,000 acre feet. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. So just kind of put a pin there. But just in your professional view and your professional experience, why would the findings that the state engineer have made there in ruling 4542, why would they matter or be important to Nevada Power or anyone else who's a permittee receiving a permit?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. Why would those findings, those 3 findings we just discussed, matter to Nevada Power and then later CSI when they acquired the rights? From a permittee standpoint, receiving a permit.
Well, from a permittee's standpoint, they would matter because they are determinations that are made by the state engineer who grants water rights, and they gave the permittee the understanding that there was water available to move forward with the proposed use of their water, and without conflicting with existing rights and without potentially threatening the public interest.
Thank you. Let's move now to that perennial yield concept that we've heard in the trial a couple times and that you had referenced. So there is this term perennial yield. What, based on your professional experience and expertise, is the definition of perennial yield in the context of groundwater?
It's generally the maximum amount of groundwater that can be withdrawn from the underground source without, on a long-term basis, without depleting water and storage.
What does that mean without depleting water storage? What's that concept mean in this perennial yield discussion?
Depleting storage it means depleting storage to an extent that would have an adverse impact on the groundwater and storage, and potentially deplete the storage in an amount that exceeds the annual recharge to replenish the water removed from storage.
Thank you. And in your experience, Mr. Richards, does the state engineer consider perennial yield when determining whether to issue groundwater permits?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you know that?
From my 30 years experience and working with Nevada water rights.
All right. Let's turn back, Hunter, for just not back. Let's stay with 4542. And if we can go to page 003, footnote 3. Highlight in the text where footnote 3 is, if you could. I'm sorry. Just open the text and highlight out where the footnote is. It's like I think it's the second sentence at the very top. Yeah, there you go. That second sentence. You see that language there. Mr. Richards, if the perennial yield is continually exceeding groundwater levels will decline until the ground reservoir is depleted. And then we see a footnote 3. And then Hunter, pull up footnote 3, and there's this state engineer's office Water4 Nevada report. So what I want to do is just turn next to that report, okay? So let's turn to exhibit 521, which is in fact just a component of your report. And I believe it was exhibit or is exhibit D to your report. But we've pulled it out and it's separate now. Proposed exhibit 5. No, I believe is that one of the ones in? That's in, right?
That's it.
Sorry, it's in. I just admitted it was exhibit 521, Your Honor. Let's turn there, Hunter, if we can. Again, this is an admitted exhibit, Mr. Richard. It's Richard Richards. It was appendix or attachment D to your report. This is that report that was referenced in footnote 3 that we just saw in order 4542. So this is this first page is looks like just kind of a cover page, and we can then see at the bottom Nevada water resources. Let's maybe turn to the next page, and I'm not going to do anything other than just read what's there. It's a water planning report by the state of Nevada. And next page is just another reference to just a water report. And then we can get the date on the next page, which was page 4. Can you highlight that and magnify it? Hunter? Are you able to magnify that at all? Okay, there you go. So this is that report in footnote 3 of 4542. Appears to be October 1971. So that gives us at least a little orientation there with the date and what this document is. Then if we go to page 007, there's actually going to be a cover letter here. And if you could just highlight, Hunter, the first paragraph, last sentence. Mr. Richards, who prepared this report based at least on this cover letter here?
It was prepared by the U.S. Geological Survey.
Okay, and let's go ahead and come down now to, but by the way, just based on your experience as a professional here, why would the U.S. Geological Survey be preparing a water report for the state of Nevada? What's their role in that?
The U.S. Geological Survey has prepared numerous reports for the state of Nevada, covering most of the individual hydrographic basins in the state of Nevada. And those reports, sometimes referred to recon or reconnaissance reports, calculate or estimate the perennial yield of the individual hydrographic basins throughout the state, and the perennial yield estimates made by the U.S. Geological Survey generally form the basis for the state engineer's office to determine the amount of water that's available for appropriation in any individual hydrographic basin in the state.
Thank you. Let's pull up the third paragraph of this transition letter or this cover letter, and just if you could please magnify the first sentence. That first sentence just says this is a hydrologic summary presented for the state. An average annual precipitation, average growing season, surface water runoff, groundwater recharge, perennial yields, and system yields are given for the 232 hydrographic areas of the state. So our basins, sometimes referred to as areas.
Yes.
In your experience?
Yes.
Okay. So we're not going to talk about the technicalities of the hydrologic report or in this report or in your opinions. Let's focus instead on the perennial yields. So to do that, let's turn to the, let's see here. page 23 of the report. And talk about this table here. What's this, what is this table called and what is it showing?
This page one of the table shows hydrographic areas in the northwest region of the state.
Okay.
And it includes various information about groundwater resources, including perennial yield, groundwater and storage.
Okay. I'm going to now just, Hunter, just have you this talks about the Northwest region. You can see down at the bottom, there's the Black Rock Desert region, and there's some other different regions. Keep going, maybe a couple more, just kind of scroll through and show there's different regions, different basins that are being addressed by this report. And we're going to go all the way then, Hunter, to skip all the way to page 33, 033. And this is what's called the Colorado River Basin continued. And then it's going to talk about specific basins here. And we see that there are various basins. And what is the fourth, 1, 2, 3, the fourth column addressing here in this report? Mr. Richards.
The fourth column addresses water yield in acre feet per year, and it references perennial yield and system yield.
Okay. And what's the, can you find Coyote Springs?
Yes.
And just come across there, so then right there in the middle, Hunter, yep. And just come across, and we've seen this figure before. But this report again, what does it show for perennial yield for Coyote Springs Basin?
18,000 acre feet.
Okay. And we don't have to look at all the different perennial yields per acre feet for the different basins, but do you see other basins that are included in now what is called the Lower White River Flow System on this chart?
Yes.
Okay, we don't have to go through the perennial yields for each one of those, but there are perennial yields that are set forth for those different basins in the Lower White River Flow System. Is that what you see there?
Yes.
In your experience, is the data within this report something that the state engineer would have relied upon concerning perennial yields for individual hydrographic basins throughout Nevada?
Objection calls for speculation.
My lay foundation.
In your work with the state engineer, you've appeared before the state engineer 80 to 100 different times, correct?
Yes.
Do you have a knowledge about how the state engineer uses perennial yield in its water management tasks and responsibilities?
And generally, the perennial yield is the basis for the state engineer's determination of water availability for appropriation.
Okay. And does ruling 4542 inform your decision as well on that, in that regard?
Yes.
And why is that?
Well, it's consistent with this table.
How so?
The 18,000 acre feet per year perennial yield cited in ruling 4542 references this report, and that same number is shown in this table of the report.
Right. All right. Let me turn now to, and this is already in, right? Okay, thanks. Let's turn now to another part of your report, Mr. Richards, which we are going to consider. This is exhibit, we pulled out attachment B to your report, and it was exhibit 285, proposed exhibit 285. And let's turn to that, please. All right. Now, Mr. Richard, this is attachment B maps. You can see it down in the bottom right-hand corner. that this is something that was, that came out of your report. It's, as I mentioned, it's attachment B. And I'm just going to, first have, Hunter just page through, I believe it's 5 maps attached, just kind of page through those maps. Page through them, page through them, page through it. Okay. Are those maps that you recognize?
Yes,
And how do you recognize them?
I had them created.
Okay, when you say you had them created, was it created under your direction?
Yes,
And specifically, your company, Stetson Engineering, created them?
yes.
Okay,
Stetson Engineers.
so let me, Stetson Engineers. So let me turn to what's been base number 285-002. And I will, I'll ask you what is being depicted in this first map, please.
This first map shows or highlights the Coyote Spring Valley Basin 210 and the Cane Springs Valley Basin 206. It also shows the proposed place of use with a purple boundary line. That's the proposed place of use associated with the Coyote Springs water rights.
And so is that when you say that purple area is the proposed place of use, that's the Coyote Springs acreage?
That's the boundary of the proposed place of use. Yes.
Okay. And you're understanding that is Coyote Springs as far as where the proposed development is proposed to be?
Yes, the purple line shown on this map actually represents the proposed place of use as it's shown on the maps that accompany the water right applications.
So these were compiled from the water right applications?
The maps associated with the water right applications, yes.
And does exhibit 285-001 fairly and accurately depict the basin boundaries and places of use associated with the Coyote Springs properties?
Yes.
All right. I can move them one at a time here, but my plan was just to move to admit all 5 because it's one exhibit. So let me just continue on, then I'll propose.
I'll stipulate to the admission of the maps on it.
Okay, thank you, counsel.
What's that?
Stipulated.
That's 285, correct?
Thank you, counsel.
Well, it's portions 285, right?
Yeah, it's portion. It's actually separate. It's okay. The maps are separate, yeah.
Thank you, Council.
285,
285, Mary, yes.
admitted.
Thank you. Okay. So if we turn then to the next map, what is being depicted here? This is 285-003.
This map depicts the individual hydrographic basins that were used to create the super basin.
Okay. Because this is the result of the rulings 1303 and 1309.
1309, yes.
1309. Okay. Thank you.
Those would be basins 206, Cane Springs Valley Basin, Basin 210, Coyote Spring Valley Basin, Basin 219, Muddy River Springs area basin, Basin 217, Hidden Valley Basin, Basin 216, Garnett Valley Basin, Basin 218, California Wash Basin, and then the northwest portion of Basin 215 all the way at the bottom or to the south there. A portion of Basin 215, the Black Mountains area basin.
Thank you. All right, let's go now to 285-004, and please describe for the court what this map is depicting.
This map shows the same basins that were delineated on the previous map, but it also includes the perennial yields of those individual hydrographic basins prior to the creation of the super basin.
And what's the source for the perennial yields that you use on these maps?
The source for the perennial yields for these basins was the 1971 planning report that we had just previously discussed, with the exception of Cane Springs Valley Basin 206 and California Wash Basin 218. For Cane Springs Valley Basin 206, the perennial yield shown here, the 1,000 acre feet, was based on state engineers ruling, I believe it was 5712, wherein the state determined that there was 1,000 acre feet of water available for appropriation. And then for the California Wash Basin, the perennial yield shown there, I think it's 100 acre feet. That also came from one of the state engineers' rulings. I think it was one of the 2014 rulings, where the perennial yield for the California Wash was cited in those rulings for the California Wash.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the next map then, if we can, which is 005 of this exhibit 285. And please describe for the court what is being depicted on this map, please.
So this map shows with blue dots the points of diversion, groundwater wells or proposed groundwater wells associated with the water rights and the Coyote Springs Basin 210 and the Cane Springs Basin 206.
And where are those places of diversion located? What county?
The points of diversion for the water rights in the Coyote Springs Basin are in Clark County, and the points of diversion associated with the Cane Springs Valley water rights are in Lincoln County.
All right. Let's turn to the next page, please, which is the final map here in this exhibit, 006. And Mr. Richards, what is being described here?
This map simply shows the amount of water that was reduced, the amount of water allowed for pumping in the total super basin area per ruling 1309, which is 8,000 acre feet per year or less.
And what is the significance of that pumping cap and the perennial yield relationship?
Well, it's substantially changed changed two things. First, it changed how the state previously assessed water availability on an individual hydrographic basin by basin approach, with consideration to the individual perennial yields in those hydrographic basins prior to ruling 1309 and subsequent to order 1309, where all those perennial yields were essentially reduced to a single 8,000 acre foot amount allowed for diversion or pumping in the entire super basin.
Thank you. Mr. Richards, we saw in ruling 4542, which was issued in 1997, that the state engineer concluded there are 18,000 acre feet of total quantity in the basin. When the state engineer was considering issuing permit 46777 What was the state engineer considering in terms of the amount of water that was available for that permit?
The perennial yield associated with Coyote Springs Basin 210, which was 18,000 acre feet at the time.
In your experience, prior to Order 1303 or 1309, was it your experience that the state engineer would consider the perennial yield for an entire super basin when evaluating water permits?
No,
All right. Now, I want to turn now to, still staying with your first opinion, I turn to the other 2 points of your opinion, which was that in issuing the opinion, the state engineer would have determined that allocating water would not conflict with existing rights and whether the proposed use would be detrimental to the public interest. Let's go. Let's just go back to what we saw on Friday, which was Exhibit 520. And the permit, the process of obtaining water rights, so that's the name of the document itself. If you go to the far right side, where those blue boxes are located, and you go 4 up, here's where the permit is issued. At that point, you've got a note over here, or not a note, a little oval, a little arrow and an oval. Private development process may begin. And then if you go back to your blue boxes, you got to then proceed to the proof of completion and then proof of beneficial use, and this is what you explained about on Friday. Do you know whether or not CSI built out the works in an attempt to put at least some of the water issued pursuant to permit 4677 to beneficial use?
yes,
And do you know whether in fact CSI did construct water infrastructure for that purpose?
yes.
And how do you know that?
I conducted a site visit of the Coyote Springs.
Okay, and when did you do that?
I did that in June of 2025.
Okay, and while you were on the site visit, did you take photographs of the site?
Yes, I did.
Can we pull up under proposed exhibit 290? This is again just a section of your report that's pulled out. You can see it's attachment G to your report, and the heading there is June 23, 2025 field photographs. And just page through these. I know you have before, and we're not going to go through all of them, but what's being depicted here in exhibit 290, please?
This exhibit depicts photographs that I took in the field in June 2025. And those photographs were taken of facilities within the Coyote Springs place of use within the master plan community area. And it shows facilities that were constructed, some of which are operational and some of which were not completed and remain inoperable.
Okay. And Hunter's been kind of paging through many of these photographs. We've seen some of these improvements at the beginning of the trial in particular. Mr. Richards, do the photographs that are set forth in Exhibit 290 fairly and accurately depict the conditions and the infrastructure and the construction and the features as you saw them when you visited the site on June 23rd, 2025.
Yes.
Offer 290, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
Thank you, Counsel. And we're not here to talk about the cost of the improvements. That's not your purpose here, but was there significance to the fact as you went out to that site, saw that infrastructure, saw the construction, saw the works? Was there significance in terms of your opinion as it relates to putting the water to beneficial use and the requirement of having to put the water to beneficial use?
Yes.
What is that, please?
Well, it showed that Coyote Springs was diligent in pursuing the works, pursuing construction of the works that were required to put the water to beneficial use as required under the terms of their water right permits.
Thank you. I'd like to turn now, Mr. Richards, to your second opinion, which addressed how a priority of CSI's water rights was determined at the time CSI's permits were issued. And based on your 33 years of experience in the water field in Nevada and the water rights arena, how has Nevada historically managed groundwater?
Manage groundwater. Well, historically, as I mentioned earlier, groundwater available for appropriation is determined based on perennial yield of the individual hydrographic basins.
And we haven't. I'm not sure we've got a big board. We've seen others there. Do we have that big board around here? I think we've already seen. Yeah, if I just give me 1 second. Thank you so much. Oh, all right. Your Honor, this is proposed exhibit 543, the hydrologic basins within the state of Nevada to operate.
I just look at it, I can't see.
Yeah, please do.
543, you said?
Yes, Your Honor, 543. Yes.
No objection.
Thank you, Counsel.
Admitted?
All right. So we've heard a lot about these hydrographic basins. This is exhibit 543. Just in general, can you just orient the court in terms of not where each of these basins are or anything like that, but just how does this map come to be?
May I have a closer look, please?
Well, yeah, you sure can. You know what? We can move this up. Matter of fact, it will help you. Oh, that's okay. I just sure. It may be easier, and I'll probably cause some sort of a calamity here. Or you know what, I'm just thinking maybe I can do something like this. Just trying to get this somewhere here. That maybe the witness can see it a little better. Okay. Great, thank you. Thank you. All right, and then we've got that up on the screen as well. All right, just we've heard so much about this, these hydrographic basins. I just want to for the court's benefit and all of our education, just how did these hydrographic basins come to be? How did we get a map like this historically?
Well, historically, and it would have been pre-1971, because the 1971 planning report identified the individual hydrographic basins as they existed at that time. the state was divided into various basins, or basins were delineated. I'm not sure exactly how or who did that, but I suspect it was probably
Foundation, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Do you know how these maps were created?
I believe they were created in coordination with the U.S. Geological Survey.
Okay. All right. And how do you use these kind of maps in your professional work, or how have you over the course of 33 years?
Well, I have this map hanging on the wall of my office, so I refer to it often. I use it to identify the locations of the various hydrographic basins within the state for different projects that I've been involved with.
All right. And for the different projects that you've been involved with, are the hydrographic basins referenced in terms of the management of water, at least historically?
I don't think the perennial yields are shown on this particular map.
Right.
But basin names and numbers are.
And were the basin names, numbers, and the perennial yields part of what you used and relied upon as a professional engineer in the work that you did with the state engineer's office?
Yes.
Okay. And was it your experience in working for 33 years with that office that likewise the state engineer relied upon this type of a map or something similar to that in terms of basin by basin analysis of water rights in the state of
I'm
Nevada?
sorry, objection foundation calls for speculation, Your Honor.
Overruled.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Sure. Based on your 33 years of experience with the state engineers and also your observation, your experience, that the state engineer would likewise rely upon and use maps like this basin by basin for the analysis of the availability of water and the issuance of permits.
Yes.
All right. What I'd like to do now is turn to a proposed exhibit, which is 519.
It's in. It's admitted. It's admitted.
Admitted exhibit 519. Sorry about that. And Mr. Richards, is this a document that you recognize, sir?
Yes.
And what is it, please?
It is a presentation of water law and an overview of related issues that was prepared by Deputy State Engineers Tracy Taylor and Jason King in October of 2005.
Okay. And date of the presentation appears to be October 13th, 2005, as you had mentioned. So just to situate us, this presentation then would have been after ruling 4542 and the permit was issued 4677, both in 97, and then also after ruling 1169 in 2002. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
Okay. And can you please tell the court how it is that you found and located this document?
This document was found on the Nevada State Legislator's website, and it was an exhibit to a meeting that was held on October 13th, 2005.
Is it your understanding that was a public meeting of involving the legislature?
Yes.
And is it your understanding this is actually a public document related to that legislative meeting?
Yes.
Offer exhibit 519 now?
I thought we stipulated.
Then we'll double admit it.
Triple.
Triple admit it. I don't know how many times I'll do that.
I've never done that.
All right. Let's just kind of orient the court, just at least court's of course free to look at the entire exhibit, but just to kind of get us oriented here, can we go to page 051, please? And just turn that page over to the next page. You'll see, and again, I'm just kind of orienting us where I'm going to go with this page next, but just groundwater and surface water topics are being addressed here, two separate sources. You turn to the next page, 5.3, we can see that there's some discussion about surface water. Next page, 5.4, again, more discussion in this meeting about surface water. And then we go to 5.5 and we can see the major rivers of Nevada is presented here. Then we go over to 5.6, and this is groundwater now. This is a point that we want to just consider for a moment. Can you, the first bullet point reads very little development until 1960s. And then the second bullet point reads state divided into hydrographic basins. Each basin is considered separate source of water. Does that have significance to you as an engineer and as a professional in the water rights industry in Nevada?
Yes.
What is that?
Well, it supports my opinion that the state has historically assessed water availability by basin approach. That is the perennial yield of the individual hydrographic basins, and those basins and the perennial yields were considered separate sources of water.
Okay. When you see that word, each basin, or that phrase, each basin is considered separate sources of water, what does that form you on? What does that tell you?
Well, again, it tells me that the historical management of water was on a basin by basin approach, and that the perennial yield of each individual hydrographic basin was considered separate sources of water.
All right. And if we go to the next page, please, page 57, what is this depicting? Looks like something we just saw.
Well, this is a map of the individual hydrographic basins. It's a little rough, but similar to the map that we have on the whiteboard or the board in front of us.
Do you see any designation of any super basins on this map?
No.
So getting back to this second opinion, how is seniority or priority of water rights then going to be determined within these basins? They're going to be based on the application date of the for the water permit. Is that right?
The date of the application, yes.
So that's granted, whatever that date is of the application. We've heard that concept before, but as a professional, that's your understanding as well.
Yes.
Okay. And what priority did CSI water rights have in Basin 210 prior to ruling 1303 or 1309?
Priority date of CSI's water rights in Basin 210 is 1983, and that priority date is unchanged.
Okay. And compared to other priorities in that basin, do you know where Coyote Springs fell?
Compared to other priority dates, I believe there are water rights held in the Coyote Springs Basin 210 that predate 1983.
Would that have been the rights held by Bedrock?
Yes.
Okay. And those would have been alluvial as opposed to carbonate aquifer?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Let's go. Let me have you now pull up exhibit 140. Lisa. So admitted exhibit 140. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on this document. This is just kind of round out our record here. And discussion here, exhibit 140. Just take a look at that top, quarter point there they're bolded, just to kind of magnify that, if you would, Hunter. Yeah. What is this document?
It's the permit that was issued for application 72220.
Okay, and this is for King Springs Valley.
Yes,
Okay, the applicant's Lincoln County Water District and Baylor Water Company.
yes.
Okay, what's the priority date for this permit?
February 14th, 2005.
Okay, so this is just supportive of your prior testimony. And then just to show the 1,000 acre feet that you were discussing before, if you can just look at the bottom of, or near the bottom of the document before the dates down there, how many acre feet are described here in this permit?
In this individual permit, 500 acre feet annually.
Okay. Then we go to the next exhibit that I wanted to have you just take a quick look at. That's exhibit 141. This one's in. Admitted exhibit 141. This appears to be very similar that we saw before. Is that right?
Yes, it's permit number 72221, Coyote Springs Valley. Applicant, Lincoln County Water District and Bidler Water Company. Priority date, February 14th, 2005.
Okay, so we saw with the prior permit, 72220, a priority date of 2005. And this permit likewise, 72221, has a permit of 2005, February 14th, 2005, right?
Yes,
Okay, let's go to the bottom again, just to confirm how many acre feet this one's talking about.
500 acre feet annually.
So that's where we get our total of not to exceed 1,000 that you talked about or testified about earlier today.
The not to exceed 1,000 is referenced a little higher up in this permit and sort of in the middle.
Where's that?
Total combined duty of water under permits 72218, 19, 20, and 221 shall not exceed 1,000 acre feet annually.
Very well. That's where our 1,000 acre feet comes from. Okay, thank you. Do you know what the seniority of water rights that CSI either controls or has options on in King Springs is?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. What is the seniority of the water rights that CSI controls or has options on in King Springs?
Well, the priority of the water rights is 2005, and I don't think there are any other water rights in the basin. So they are the senior most and the only water rights in that basin.
Okay, thank you. Let's just turn now to your third and fourth opinions that CSI's water rights were lowered relative to other water right holders in the basin as a result of orders 1303 and 1309. Let's pull up admitted exhibit 206, please, which is the interim order 1303. You had mentioned at the beginning of the testimony that this is one of the orders that you've reviewed and considered as part of your opinions. Is that right, Mr. Richards?
Yes.
All right. And just to remind us, Hunter, let's remember when this was issued. Let's go to page 15 of that exhibit. Go down to the bottom there, and January 11th, 2019, just to keep us oriented. All right. Just in general, Mr. Richards, what did interim order 1303 do?
Well, in general, it designated or delineated 6 individual hydrographic basins for joint administration, and it also specified that the administration of water rights within those six basins combined as a group now would be administered based on relative priority dates of all the water rights in those six basins.
All right, let's turn specifically then to page 10 of interim order 1303. And Hunter, if we can just highlight the third point. Again, this is relative to your opinion and opinions here. I have your comment on that. This is the third whereas clause, the third paragraph on page 010 of exhibit 206. And it says, whereas as demonstrated by the results of the aquifer test, Coyote Springs Valley, Mediverde Springs area, Hidden Valley, Garnett Valley, California Wash, and the northwestern part of the Black Mountains area have a direct hydrologic connection, and as a result must be administered as a joint administrative unit, including the administration of all water rights based on the date of priority of such rights in relation to the priority of rights in the other basins, close quote. Did that statement and that portion of interim order 1303 have significance to you and your opinions in this case?
Yes,
Why?
because it supports my opinion that when the super basin was created, one of the effects was that it reordered the priorities of all the water right holders in the joint administrative unit or the super basin, which at this time, at the time of this ruling, was a 6-area basin, and of course later became a 7-area basin.
Okay, and what effect did that have on CSI's priorities?
It lowered the relative priority of their water rights and affected the ability to use their water rights, and it essentially gave CSI's water rights to other water users in the super basin to use ahead of CSI.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. For now, let's turn to exhibit 207. It's admitted. Of course, this is 1309. And likewise, this is something you testified that you're familiar with and relied upon in formulating your opinions. Let's remind ourselves when this ruling was issued. Hunter, let's go to page 66 of the ruling. And we can see here, this was this ruling, this order 1309 was issued June 15, 2020. Again, just in general terms, we've heard a lot about 1309, and just to orient ourselves, this would have been, let's see, Mr. Richards, 4542 and permit 4677 was issued in 1997. So this would have been, what, like 15 years after that? Approximately?
2020 would have been 23 years later.
Okay. So you're an engineer, you do that better than I do. All right. So what about since the issuance of the King Springs Valley permits that was issued in 2007? So this ruling would have been, what, 13 years? Am I right on that one?
Yes.
Okay. 13 years after that permit was issued. Okay, so just again, in general, can you just explain in general what Order 1309 did?
So 1309, in general, it added another individual hydrographic basin to the super basin that was delineated in Order 1303. 1309 added the King Springs Valley Basin, increasing the size of the super basin from a 6-area basin to a 7-area basin. And 1309 also imposed the 8,000 acre foot or less pumping cap in this newly created super basin.
All right. And what was the significance of that pumping cap?
Well, it changed it changed the historical basin by basin approach that the state engineer utilized to determine water availability, and it essentially erased all the individual perennial yields that were used to determine water availability in the individual hydrographic basins prior to this ruling. And it consolidated all the water rights from the individual hydrographic basins into one unit. And it imposed a pumping cap, 8,000 acre feet annually or less, which was significantly lower than the sum total of the perennial yields in the individual hydrographic basins prior to the issuance of this order.
Mr. Richards, just thinking back to when Order 1303 and then interim Order 1303 and then 1309 came out in 2019 and then 2020. Do you remember the response among your professional colleagues and just the industry in general to these rulings?
Objection
Or
relevance.
these orders?
I'm sorry, objection relevance
Overruled.
and hearsay.
What was the
Response was.
response? Just in general.
It was surprising. It was unexpected, unpredictable, and kind of shocking. It left a lot of questions unanswered, and generally raised questions as to how the super basin and the water rights within the super basin would be administered going forward.
At least for you and your, oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say at this time,
This
let's
is a
take
good
our
time to
morning
break.
recess, reconvene at 22:11.
And we've hit our first morning break here. So we're going to wrap that and then we'll get back with notes, get an update out to the crowd. And then, yeah, we will be right back. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day out there.
Vegas shine, that's the stage. But baby, we're more than the glow. From Carson City to the back roads, we got that old state soul. Churchill ride, clock keep moving. Douglas wind through the pines. Elko sky, Esmeralda dreaming. Every mile got a line. Hear that name roll slow, like a river through the sand. One state, one home, in every county band. We're Nevada, baby, Nevada all the way. We're Nevada. sun. Lincoln dust, Lyon County calling. Mineral, we sing along. Nye County moon, Persian heartland. Story got that old school flame. Washoe shake, white pine rising. Say it, baby, same sweet name. Hear that name, roll slow, like a promise in the land. One state, one home, in every county band. We're Nevada, baby, Nevada all the way. We're Nevada, baby, from the night to the day. No, we're Nevada, baby, Nevada all the way. And when the horns start crying, we remember every road, not just the bright windows, but the ones that hold the load. Carson City, Churchill. Carson City, all the way home. We're Nevada, baby, Nevada all the way. We're Nevada, baby, from the night to the day. Carson City, we're Nevada, baby, Nevada all the way. Yeah. Yeah. Nevada. Yeah. Yeah. Pull up on Nevada, feel it. Bet the ground shake when we move. Hot as it hit like sunlight. State flag wave when we cruise. Build it from the dust up. They doubt us, now they copy the groove. County by county, we solid. Same spine, different views. Made it out the hard way. Long roads, no silver spoon. Sign my name on real things. Step off planes to open skies and moons. Locked in, don't ask me about the clout talk. I might just stare at you. Locked in, don't ask me about the clout talk. I might embarrass you. Stand tall in one boots on cold stone. Holding ground steady, make them fall slow. Sunset, gold, match the snow tone. No front in this, stay home. Lay a lamp for sagebrush to railroads. They say they know us, but they don't though. Run laps around the talk shows. Hear our name echo in town halls. Yo, Nevada, where you been at? Everywhere, still working hard. 2 lane nights, wide open days. Long miles in every yard. Quick to stand up for the land. Don't push us, don't get me started. Locked in with the neighbors and locals. We keep it guarded. Everything I wear got dust on it. That mean it's activated. I was quiet when they slept on us. Now they act like they made it. Independent, proud and grounded. That's the state reputation. On top of the map for a reason. They try to underestimate it. They know this place authentic. Yeah, we live the truth. Stop over talking, show up, see what presents do. Standing on business in plain boots. Before I let this place get reshaped, I'll defend rules. Stand tall in warm boots on cold stone. Holding ground steady, make them fall slow. Sunset, gold, match snow tones. No front in this, stay home. Lay land for sagebrush to railroads. They say they know us, but they don't though. Run laps around the talk shows. Hear our name echo in town halls. Yeah. Nevada. Can we talk for a minute? Not politics, not noise, just home. W4Nevada live. Nevadans talking to Nevadans. I heard a mother down in Clark say something ain't right at the school today. I heard a washer say the water's thin, and nobody tells us where the money went. Out and now they've been raising their hands, asking who keeps selling off the land. Stories watching all those power lines, wondering who pays when the bill comes due this time. We don't need a polished speech, we just need a place to speak. Bring your heart, bring your name, bring the paper with the date. Can we talk Nevada? Can we tell the truth tonight? From the valleys to the mountains, bring what's hidden to the light. Call it in, text it in, let your county say its name. 17 voices singing, but the heartbeat is the same. Can we talk Nevada? This is home, this is us. Real voices, real receipts, real follow through, real trust. Carson City, I can hear you too. Churchill's got a story coming through. Douglas knows what pressure feels like. Elko's still working under big sky nights. Esmeralda, don't you disappear. Eureka, your voice belongs right here. Humboldt, Lincoln Line, every small town still gotta shine. Lion, Mineral, Persian too. White Pine, we ain't forgetting you. 17 counties, one long road. Everybody carrying a different load. If it's water, let's talk about it. If it's school, let's talk about it. If it's budgets, let's talk about it. If it's buried, bring it out. If it's power, let's talk about it. If it's land, let's talk about it. If it's public, don't hide it. Nevada, we're done being quiet. Can we talk Nevada? Can we tell the truth tonight? From the valleys to the mountains, bring what's hidden to the light. Call it in, text it in, let your county say its name. 17 voices singing, but the heartbeat is the same. Can we talk Nevada? This is home, this is us. Real voices, real receipts, real follow through, real trust. Say what you heard, say what you know, say what they try to keep down low. Bring that email, bring that file, bring that agenda they buried a while. Bring that picture, bring that name, bring that question they tried to shame. Rumors are leads, receipts are proof, and we follow the trail till we find the truth. Cause they found it. We can talk, Washoe County. We can talk, Lily County. We can talk, Narrow County. We can talk, Hudson City. We can talk, Sutton County. We can talk, Douglas County. We can talk, Lyon County. We can talk, Story County. We can talk, Humboldt County. We can talk, Riga County. We can talk, Riga County. We can talk, Esmeralda County. One Nevada dream. Can we talk Nevada? Can we tell the truth tonight? From the valleys to the mountains, bring what's hidden to the light. Call it in, text it in, let your county say its name. 17 voices singing, but the heartbeat is the same. Can we talk Nevada? This is home, This is us. Real voices, real receipts. Real follow through, real trust. Nevada, pick up the phone. This is your county, this is your home. W4Nevada the lie. Nevadans, talk to Nevadans. Real voices. Real receipts. Real voices. You can look me over, see the scars I wear, long road on my shoulders, still I stand right there.
Look at that now. Huh?
Hmm?
Looking at that on the phone?
Yes, I was.
Oh, there, they show up here.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to look at it, if you want to.
You know,
May see this part of studies.
All right, please be seated. We're back on the record. Witness has retaken the stand and you may resume.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Richards, we left off, we were talking about, we talked about interim order 1303, and then we talked about order 1309, and you explained in general what 1309 did. Now what I'd like to ask you to do is just to explain what order 1309 did not do in relation to Nevada water rights.
I'd like to add that the 1309 was unprecedented. In regard to your question, what did it not do? My opinion, 1309 did not rescind the doctrine of prior appropriation.
Why does that matter?
Because the doctrine of prior appropriation is one of the two founding principles of Nevada water law.
Okay. What else did order 1309 not do?
1309 did not change the priority dates of any water rights held within the individual hydrographic basins prior to the creation of 1309. And it didn't change those priority dates after 1309 was issued.
Okay.
1309 did not create a management plan for this unprecedented, newly created super basin. And 1309 did not change the state engineer's statutory requirements to manage the state's water and particularly the water within the super basin, in accordance with existing rights and priority.
What does all of that mean, Mr. Richards, with respect to the seniority of rights within the super basin?
In my opinion, what that means is the seniority of water rights within the super basin, in this newly created super basin, now have to be considered relative to each other, relative to the priority dates that are associated with all of the water right holders.
Thank you. Have you heard the position that 1309, Order 1309 rescinded Order 1303's reordering of priority rights within the super basin?
Yes.
What's your response to that?
That statement was made by the Supreme Court, which I think is referred to as Sullivan. I could not find that statement in Order 1309, and I was not able to determine how or why the Supreme Court made that statement. I'm not going to quibble with it by any means, but I just could not determine how that statement was made.
Okay, and setting aside what the Supreme Court said, what's the practical effect of what 1309 did not do concerning seniority within the super basin that was created under 1303 and 1309?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. You said that the one of the things 1309 didn't do was to repeal the doctrine of prior appropriation or repeal the priority dates by which permits were acquired, right?
Did not rescind the doctrine of prior appropriation, and it did not change the priority dates of any water right holders that were consolidated into the super basin.
So even if in fact someone argues or states, well, 1309 rescinded 1303's reordering of priorities within the super basin, what would you say to that? What would you say was the practical effect, even if that's true?
I would say the doctrine of prior appropriation still controls, and it still controls how the state engineer is required to administer water rights.
All right. Now, one of the things that you had talked about is this pumping cap, and we noted that in Order 1309. What did the pumping cap do to CSI's seniority rights? What did it actually? What was the effect of that in terms of acre feet? We started off. We've seen 4,140 acre feet. What happened to the 4,140 acre feet as far as seniority as a result of 1309 and the imposition of this pumping cap after the creation of the super basin and the reordering of priorities?
So again, the creation of the super basin and the result of 1309 was that there was this 8,000 acre foot pumping cap, 8,000 acre feet or less pumping cap. And when you look at the priority dates of all the water right holders in this newly created super basin, and you look at the duty of water that each of those water right holders are allowed to pump, what the result was is CSI's water rights, which have a priority date of 1983, were made junior relative to other priority dates, other water right holders with priority dates that predate 1983.
And Mr. Richards, is that true, even if you accept the concept or the idea that Order 1309 rescinded the reprioritization provisions of interim Order 1303?
It's still true
Why?
because 1309 did not change priority dates, and it did not change the state engineer's requirement to regulate water in accordance with existing rights and relative priority.
All right, thank you. Let's go to your fourth opinion, which was that the state engineer under 1309 and 1303 effectively took CSI's rights to use water and gave them to others. I'd like to focus on that last opinion, that fourth opinion now. I'd like to pull up already admitted Exhibit 210, please. And this is something we saw, particularly the early stages of the trial, maybe throughout a little more, but this is already admitted. Is this a document you've seen before, Mr. Richards?
Yes.
And just briefly describe what it is. We've seen it before.
It's a table showing lower White River flow system groundwater rights by priority. The table shows permit numbers and the basins in which those permits were granted. And it ranks all of the permits according to priority date, with the earliest priority date shown in the top row and later priority dates following below.
Okay.
It also shows the annual duty of water associated with these groundwater rights, meaning the amount of water allowed for appropriation, and then the cumulative duty.
Good. Okay. Yeah. And we've been through that before. If you go to the next page, the second page, you'll see there then the highlighted portion there. What's being highlighted?
Highlighted are the Coyote Springs Valley CSI water right permits with the 1983 priority date and the annual duty of water allowed for pumping under those permits.
Okay. And how does this Exhibit 210, if at all, relate to your fourth opinion that the state engineer effectively took CSI's rights to use its water and gave it to others?
It relates to that opinion because, as you can see in this table, if you look at the cumulative duty column and interpolate between the 7937 and 8937 cumulative duties, the 8,000 acre foot pumping cap falls just in between those two.
Yeah.
And the Coyote Springs permit 74095 is just within that 8,000 acre foot pumping cap. And it's below all the other permit holders that are in the table above.
All right. So CSI's got 500 acre feet that's within the cap. The rest are outside the cap.
Within the current cap of 8,000 acre feet, yes.
Okay.
That was wrong.
So if we just do the math, 4,140 minus 500, that's how many acre feet? My math says 3,640 acre feet fall outside the pumping cap, or below the pumping cap, or above the pumping cap, however you want to describe it.
Yeah, the 400 acre foot water right associated with permit 77292, I believe, is Southern Nevada Water Authority's right in the Coyote Springs Basin, and then the 460 acre foot amount above that is the amount that was relinquished for the Moapa days.
Right.
And so the the rest of the four other rows above represent the Coyote Springs water rights.
Okay. Now, Mr. Richards, I want to turn your attention to your expert report again. And did you then take this information that we see on Exhibit 210 and just put it in perspective in terms of how it is that, in your opinion, the state engineer took CSI's water rights and gave them to others? You have
Yes.
a table in your report. Let's go to that. Let's turn to page 24, please, of the report, which is Exhibit 283. All right, just look at the table, Hunter, just magnify the table. That's all I'm concerned about right now. All right, now, Mr. Richards, can you please explain to the court, what is this table showing? First off, this is information that was based on what we just looked at, Exhibit 210.
Yes, Exhibit 210 was attachment I to my expert report. So this table 3 refers to the distribution of water rights for the lower White River flow system based on changed priority dates as derived from attachment I, or that priority table.
All right, and please describe to the court what you're showing here, or trying to depict here with this chart as it relates to this fourth opinion about the state engineer taking CSI's water rights and giving them to others.
So this table basically consolidates the data in the table that we were previously discussing. It uses the same data, it's derived from the same data. It just consolidates all of the permits into groups according to a range of priority dates. So for example, the first row here in this table shows Coyote Springs Valley hydrographic basin, and there were 2 permits that had a priority date of 1919. Duty of water, and the cumulative duty of water is repeated here. And then the second row shows 28 permits that were associated with the prior table in the Muddy River Springs area basin. And those 28 permits have a range of priority dates between 1947 and 1958.
Right.
Total duty of almost 4,000 acre feet, and the cumulative duty increases to 42,070 acre feet, and so on. The table shows water rights in the Garnett Valley, water rights in the California Wash, and the number of permits and the ranges of priority dates, or the priority dates associated with those permits, their total duty, and then the cumulative duty, all the way down to the bottom of the table where we see Coyote Spring Valley permit 74095, 1 permit with a priority date of 1983, duty of 500 acre feet, and with that 500 acre feet, the cumulative duty is just under the 8,000 acre foot pumping cap.
All right, so that's that 1 permit that falls within the pumping cap.
Yes.
Okay, and are these, Mr. Richards, are these permits, are these water rights decreed water rights, or are the statutory water rights being depicted on your chart?
They're not decreed water rights. They're statutory water right permits.
And statutory water rights like Coyote Springs?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you look at, and again, just kind of focusing on your opinion about showing the court how it is that what the state engineer did here resulted in CSI's use of its water being given to others within the super basin, let's focus on Garnett Valley. What's the significance of the 2 rows here and the information you're providing to the court about Garnett Valley as it relates to that opinion of yours?
Well, at the time CSI's permits were granted in 1997, under ruling 4542. The ruling and the water rights granted CSI the right to use water based on the state's determination that there was water supply available for appropriation in the Coyote Springs Valley, based on determinations that the proposed use of that water would not conflict with existing rights, and based on the state's determination that the proposed use of the Coyote Springs water rights would not be detrimental to the public interest. And at the time those determinations were made, they were made based on the perennial yield of the Coyote Springs Valley Basin, which we've discussed was 18,000 acre feet. And at the time the ruling was issued, 4542, and at the time the permits were granted to CSI to use its water, and the requirements that it put that water to beneficial use by specific dates, or the water rights would be subject to cancellation. The Garnet Valley was not considered. The Garnet Valley water rights were not a consideration that was part of that ruling, part of the state's decision to grant those permits, because the Garnet Valley was a different hydrographic basin and it had a specific perennial yield, which was substantially less than 18,000 acre feet. And so the effect of 1309 was to reorder the relative priority of the rights to use water. And this table identifies the permits, the number of permits, and the hydrographic basins where those permits were issued. And it identifies the permits that were effectively granted the right to use CSI's water ahead of CSI.
All right, and so in your opinion, because of the creation of the super basin, did the permits in Garnet Valley experience an increase in the amount of water that would be available to those permits as compared to the perennial yield of the Garnet Valley previously?
Section foundation.
Overruled.
Understand the question?
I think so, yes. If we were to refer back to the 1971 planning report, and my maps that showed the perennial yield of the Garnet Valley hydrographic basin prior to the creation of the sewer basin, I think the perennial yield in the Garnet Valley was
Let's
400 acre feet.
Let's just put it up side by side.
Okay.
If you can pull up exhibit 521-003. 033. 521-033. And then highlight Garnet Valley, which is about 2/3 of the way down. It says Black Mountain area, Garnet, Hidden Valley. Kind of highlight that if you can. Come, yeah. All right. So what was the perennial yield for Garnet Valley?
Yes, thank you. So the perennial yield for Garnet Valley was 400 acre feet annually prior to the creation of the sewer basin. And so the rights to use water in Garnet Valley prior to creation of the sewer basin were subject to that 400 acre foot perennial yield. Subsequent to the creation of the sewer basin, Garnet Valley's water right permits now benefit from the total pumping that's allowed in that valley of 8,000 acre feet.
And what's the effect?
Well, the effect is that Garnet Valley benefits from being able to use water that they benefit to use water that was taken from CSI and lowered CSI's ability to use water.
Thank you. Your Honor, I would proffer proposed exhibit 556, which is this chart that you've been discussing.
Objection, hearsay?
Overruled as admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
What's the number?
It's new exhibit 556. All right. One more question on this chart. Mr. Richards, were any of the permit holders identified in exhibit 556, your chart, considered when the state engineer issued permit 46777?
Objection, foundation?
Sustained.
Do you know, do you know which basins the state engineer considered when issuing permit 4677 in terms of water availability?
The state engineer granted the water rights to CSI based on water availability in the Coyote Springs Valley Basin 210.
Okay, so then my question is, were any of the permit holders identified in this table, which is now exhibit 556, considered by the state engineer when he issued permit 46777?
No, only the two permits that are in the top row of the table, because they are also in the Coyote Springs Valley Basin.
Mr. Richards, as a result of Order 1309, have you reviewed documents or records that described what occurred as a result of Order 1309 concerning CSI's ability to use its water for a subdivision map?
Yes.
And what did Order 1309 do in that respect?
The objection, foundation, Your Honor, without reference to the documents?
Sustained.
Okay, let's go ahead and pull up, if we can, exhibit 57. And next page, please. And Mr. Richards says this is a document that we've seen before and has been admitted into evidence. Have you seen this document before?
Yes.
And appears to be a letter from the state engineer. Matter of fact, we can go to the second page, Hunter. See, it's written by Steve Shell, or at least signed by Steve Shell. And go back to the first page, please. And you see that this relates to Coyote Springs Village A, the name. And you see that?
Yes.
And the ray line references this final subdivision review.
I'm sorry. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Okay, great. And now if we go to the next page, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. We've seen this before. And we can highlight, if you can, please, the last three paragraphs. That first paragraph at the top begins, on June 15, 2020, the state engineer issued Order 1309, which defined the maximum groundwater which can be pumped from the lower right river flow system as being 8,000 acre feet annually or less. And then next sentence says, Coyote Springs Investment LLC groundwater permits have priority dates, which may exceed the threshold of allowing pumping within the definition of this order. And if you just go down then to the action item, Hunter, one more down. One more. Right there. The action states the Division of Water Resources recommends disapproval concerning water quantity as required by statute for Coyote Springs subdivision based on the water services by Coyote Springs Water Resources General Improvement District. Having now seen again that letter, Exhibit 57, I'll ask my question again about what was the effect of Order 1309 on CSI's ability to use its water for a subdivision.
Outside the scope and foundation, you are.
Lay a foundation.
Sure. Did you evaluate or determine whether or not Order 1309 had an effect on CSI in terms of its ability to use its own water?
Yes,
And what effect did that actually have on the CSI's ability to use its own water?
Outside the scope of the report, you are. Objection.
it effectively blocked CSI's ability to continue to pursue its master plan community. This letter was issued on June 17, 2020, 2 days after Order 1309 was issued. The letter clearly indicates that the action to disapprove water quantity required for the Coyote Springs Village A subdivision was predicated on Order 1309. And it additionally, it makes reference to Coyote Springs relative priority dates, which were reorganized or according to per 1309. And it shows and it indicates that, again, the decision to disapprove the subdivision was predicated on 1309, which imposed the 8,000 acre foot pumping cap and lowered the priority dates of CSI's water rights to something less than that 8,000 acre foot pumping cap.
Thank you. Let's go to Exhibit 71. I meant to speak with you about this when we were talking about Cane Springs and just forgot to. So let me just quickly go back to a ruling 5712, which is the Cane Springs ruling that we talked about earlier. It's Exhibit 71. It's admitted, and you see that this is the Cane Springs ruling, or at least the ruling regarding application concerning Cane Springs groundwater.
Yes.
Okay. What I'd like to do is just have you take a look at page 14 of that document. We can, Judge, we'll have this in front of him, and sorry about read as much as you'd like, of course. But just going back to your first opinion about the historic management of water rights in the state of Nevada. I'd like to have point your attention to something the state engineer wrote on page 14. It's the paragraph Roman number 8, and that's the last sentence. If you could highlight that. It's that last sentence there. Hunter, please pull that up. Great. In this ruling, the Cane Springs ruling, and let's just actually before we do this, just orient ourselves on when this is. I'll just tell you, I've turned to page 23. It's dated February 2nd, 2007. And within this ruling, this 2007 ruling, state engineer writes, quote, thus the state engineer is still able to manage the groundwater basins as they have historically managed administratively, but also take into consideration the concerns that arise for groundwater basins that are hydrographically connected, period, close quote. Did that statement have, did that statement influence your opinions in this case, particularly your first opinion concerning the historical management and the way in which the state engineer historically managed groundwater in the state of Nevada?
Well, I think it supports my opinions that for decades, the state administered groundwater on a basin by basin approach. And it was not until this unprecedented creation of the super basin in 2020 where that changed.
And was there significance to your opinion whether the state engineer acknowledged the interconnectivity or the hydrologically connection within this basin, and yet also permitted up to 1,000 acre feet of available appropriation, to your opinion? Can you repeat that?
Can you please?
I'm in the same language here. Just was there, the state engineer ruled, we know in this ruling that there was 1,000 acre feet available for appropriation, right?
Yes.
All right. Does that fact have an influence on the way you consider what the state engineer said here, that there were concerns arising from the groundwater basins that are hydrologically connected? And nevertheless, he still permitted 1,000 acre feet of water to be allocated.
And the state engineer in this ruling recognized that there is underflow between basins, yet still stated that there was water available for appropriation within the Cane Springs Basin, and that the proposed use of water under these permits would not conflict with existing rights, and the proposed use of water under these permits would not prove detrimental to the public interest.
And the concerns about the underflow of water within various basins. Let me strike that. Let me reset the question. The fact that the state engineer acknowledged that there was underflow or interconnectivity within basins, but nevertheless stated, quote, that they were quote, still able to manage the groundwater basins as they have historically managed administratively, close quote, have significance to you in terms of your opinion about the historical management of groundwater in the state of Nevada?
Yes.
How so?
Well, again, the interconnectivity of water between adjacent basins is known to exist and has been known to exist for decades. It's a fact that's referenced and estimated in many of the U.S. Geological Survey reconnaissance reports, where perennial yield is derived. And historically, even with the understanding and knowledge that there is underflow between adjacent basins, the state engineer has historically administered a groundwater rights basin by basin and based on the perennial yield within the individual hydrographic basins.
Thank you. Mr. Richards, is in your professional opinion and experience and knowledge, is the area that the state engineer has now referred to as the lower White River flow system, or the super basin we've been talking about, over appropriated?
It was over appropriated. The individual basins were over appropriated prior to creation of the super basin.
How do you know that?
All of the individual basins that make up the super basin, with the exception of Cane Springs hydrographic basin, were previously designated for special administration by the state prior to creation of the super basin.
And in your professional opinion, who is responsible for the over appropriation of those basins within that area?
Well, the state issues water rights within the individual basins. The state issues water rights with knowledge of what the available supply is for appropriation. And if water rights are issued in excess of water supply availability, then it follows that state's responsible for management or mismanagement of the administration of water rights.
In your opinion, Mr. Richards, did CSI have any role in the creation of the problem that orders 1303 and 1309 attempted to resolve?
No,
Why not?
CSI does not administer water rights. CSI acquired its rights to use water from the state. CSI's rights to use its water were based on determinations made by the state that water was available for appropriation. The state made determinations that CSI's proposed use of water would not conflict with existing rights and would not prove detrimental to the public interest. CSI's water rights were granted, as I've said, with specific dates that they were required to construct the works necessary to put the water to beneficial use and show that the water was put to beneficial use, or those water rights would be subject to cancellation. The CSI followed the rules and the provisions of its permits. They pursued diligently to construct the works as demonstrated by the facilities that were actually built. And they pursued putting that water to beneficial use diligently, as demonstrated by the certificate that was issued for one of its permits. They had nothing to do with the over appropriation of water rights. They were simply following the rules diligently with respect to the rights that they were granted to use.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Those are all the questions I have for now, Your Honor.
Cross-examination?
Morning, Mr. Richards.
Morning.
I think you and I are on the two ends of the spectrum. You speak very slow and deliberately. I speak really quickly. So we'll see if we can find the middle ground if we can. You are a resident of California, is that true?
That is true.
You ever lived in the state of Nevada?
I have not.
What percentage of your practice is related to Nevada as opposed to California? If you can give me a guesstimate.
What percentage of my practice?
Yes.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, well, you do work in California and Nevada as a hydrologist?
I have projects in California and Nevada, yes.
Can you tell on an annual basis, just an allocation of how much time you spend in Nevada doing Nevada project as opposed to California projects?
I have projects in other states as well, including Arizona, Oklahoma. On a total percent basis, time spent on individual projects, on average over the course of my career, I'd probably say 30%, maybe more, of my time has been involved with projects in Nevada.
Okay, you've had a long career and successful career. I want to congratulate you on that, but I want to focus on your career as it relates to the state of Nevada. Can you explain to the court what the White River flow system is?
White River flow system. My understanding is that the White River flow system is it's a hydrographic system that consists of many individual hydrographic basins. If you look at it in terms of topographic delineation on a map, and it would include not just the lower White River flow system, but the White River system that extends quite a bit further north into Nevada. north, meaning north of the Cane Springs Valley.
And sir, have you studied the White River flow system
Not extensively.
at all?
Yes,
Have you read some of the studies and reports relating to the White River flow system that began as early as the 1960s?
I have read portions of reports that relate to the White River flow system.
Read the 1964 Eakin study and the 1966 Eakin study?
Pardon?
The 1964 and 1966 Eakin studies?
I'm aware of those two studies.
Yes,
Yes,
sir. Have you read them?
I have not read them word for word, but I have read portions of them, specifically the abstracts and the introductions and some other information contained within
You know,
them.
part of that, those studies postulated that the White River flow system and all of the quote unquote basins therein may well be hydrologically connected.
I don't recall having read that.
Have you read something known as the Dettinger report?
I'm sorry, Casey.
Dettinger, Dettinger, that report.
What was your question?
Have you read it?
I don't think so, and I don't think so.
Have you read something known as the Rush report?
I've read several reports by Rush. Rush worked for the U.S. Geological Survey and prepared numerous reconnaissance reports for basins within the state of Nevada.
So let's just focus on the reports related to the White River flow system. Have you read any of the Rush reports regarding the White River flow system? To the best of your recollection.
I think I probably have.
Have you ever heard something known as the Carbonate Terrain Society?
No,
So fair to say you haven't read any reports issued to or by the Carbonate Terrain Society?
I have not heard of the society, so fair
Okay.
to say I have not read any of their reports.
Fair point. Is the White River flow system considered to be a carbonate aquifer?
The White River flow system in general includes both surface water and underground water, to my understanding.
And is the underground water part of a carbonate aquifer?
In general, yes.
And can you just tell the court what a carbonate aquifer is?
Carbonate aquifer refers to the specific geologic formation underlying the surface of the earth. And it's different in some regards to other types of aquifers, for example, alluvial aquifers.
Is the White River flow system generally known as a deep regional carbonate aquifer?
I don't recall it being characterized that way.
Okay. Do you know what the starting point is of the White River flow system and where it discharges?
The starting point of the White River flow system, I'm not sure that that's been accurately determined with any specificity, and where it discharges, it could discharge at more than one location throughout the entire region.
Do you know where it discharges?
My understanding is that a portion of the lower White River flow system discharges in the Muddy River Springs Valley Basin 219.
Muddy River Springs area is what's referred to as Basin 219. Does that comport with your recollection?
Muddy River Springs area basin, yes, thank you.
Basin 219.
219.
Okay. What is the basin immediately up gradient of Basin 219?
Well, Coyote Springs Valley Basin is up gradient. I think there may be another basin that would be considered up gradient also.
My question was immediately up gradient, and just so you understand what I'm asking, what is the basin that is immediately, the one basin that is immediately up gradient? And you understand what I mean when I say up gradient?
Well, I'm assuming when you say immediate that you mean adjacent to, and when you say up gradient, I assume that you mean in regards to the hydraulic head of the underground water in the adjacent basins.
Okay, with that definition, what is the immediate up gradient basin from 219?
I think the Coyote Springs Valley Basin 210 is one, and there may be another basin adjacent to and up gradient of the Muddy River Springs area basin.
Okay, and so when we talk about the sort of the starting point, you indicated that you weren't really sure, maybe it wasn't a consensus as to where it starts. But do you know from a just a geographic standpoint how big the White River flow system is by mileage, or by miles, I should say?
By square miles?
Yes, sir.
I don't know off the top of my head.
270 sound about right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, but all that water, and we talk about upgrading and downgrading, that water, it starts at the, whatever the starting point is, essentially flows down, if you will, downgrade into and discharge it into the Muddy River, correct?
Generally, all water flows down gradient on the surface and below ground, and discharges, it may discharge at one or more locations.
Is the carbonate rock aquifer underlaying the White River flow system? Does it where does it recharge from? Do you know?
Recharges from various hydrographic basins and mountain ranges within the greater region.
And do you know, sir, what the permissivity is or transmissivity is between the carbonate rocks in the White River flow system? Generally,
Do I know the what?
the transmissivity or the connectivity of the carbonate aquifer?
The transmissivity or the connectivity,
Yes, sir. Hydrologic.
hydrogeologic.
Okay.
You're referring to the aquifer parameters.
Yes, sir.
They vary. They would vary throughout the region and throughout the individual hydrographic basins. They're generally the characteristics of aquifers are not uniform.
Isn't that one of the issues that Eakin addressed in 1964 and 1966 is trying to determine the connectivity of the carbonate rock aquifers in the White River flow system, if you recall.
I did not review the Eakin reports in their entirety.
Those portions that you did review, other than perhaps the prefatory language and the indices, any portion of those reports suggest to you that that was a issue that had been studied at least since the 60s, the hydrologic connectivity, transmissivity within the carbonate rock aquifer system?
I don't recall.
Same question. Well, I think you said you didn't read Dettinger, right? You didn't read the Dettinger report. That was your testimony earlier.
I don't recall reading a report by Dettinger.
Do you know whether or not the carbonate rock aquifer, the White River flow system, has high storage capacity?
I recall reading a passage in at least one state engineer's ruling where there was reference made to a high storage capacity of the carbonate rock aquifer.
Do you know whether or not that storage capacity is sensitive to modern day pumping?
Can you be more specific, please?
Sure, that if you pump some, it might have an effect on the carbonate rock aquifer basins within that same system.
Can you be more specific, please?
What part of my question? I never want to argue with a scientist because I'm not, and so I'm asking questions that I think make sense. So what what part of my question is confusing, and I'll see if I can't give a better question.
Right, and I'm not trying to come across as argumentative.
No, I
either.
don't perceive it that way.
Okay, thank you. I just, your question is very general. To answer that question, I would need information about how much water is being pumped, what the pumping rate is, where, the depth, that the water is being drawn from. And there's a lot of specific information that would be required for me to answer that question in an accurate way.
And you don't know, sorry to interrupt you if I did, you don't know whether or not any of the studies that I've mentioned address that particular issue, the sensitivity of drawing water out of that carbonate rock aquifer.
Studies you mentioned were Eakin and Dedinger, I believe.
Rush
And
studies
some,
to the Carbonate Terrain Society
I'm sorry.
and studies that may have been published by the Carbonate Terrain Society.
And what was your question?
Do you know whether any of those reports that you did or didn't read address the issue of the sensitivity of drawing water out of the carbonate rock aquifer?
I don't recall.
You've practiced in a number of different states. Are there any other states that you practice in that have a same or similar type of a carbonate rock aquifer like the White River flow system?
California, I believe, has carbonate rock aquifers. Arizona has carbonate rock aquifers. Oregon
I'm
has
sorry,
carbonate rock
I'm sorry,
aquifers.
what's that? The last one?
Oregon, carbonate rock aquifers are not unique to Nevada, I guess is what I'm saying.
Have you ever seen one that is as complex and unique as the White River flow system in any of the states that you've mentioned?
In general, any carbonate rock aquifer is complex.
And would you agree that the White River flow system is a complex carbonate rock aquifer system?
In general, I would say any and all carbonate rock aquifer systems are complex,
As is the lower White River flow system and the White River
Including-
flow system?
including the lower White River flow system. Yes.
And have you studied carbonate rock aquifers in the other states that you talked about?
I'm aware that they exist. I haven't had detailed studies off the top of my head or had projects involving carbonate rock aquifer systems off the top of my head. But I am aware that they exist, and I have a lot of experience over the years, having worked with hydrogeologists in my office to understand the complexities of carbonate rock aquifer systems.
In this case, some of the rulings are foundational to your opinions. Would you agree with that generally?
Yes,
4542 was one of them.
yes,
Did you read the footnotes and the studies that were set forth and identified in ruling 4542?
yes,
All of them,
all of them.
even the Eakin reports.
I read the footnotes that refer to the Eakin reports. Yes.
Now, I know you read the footnotes. I'm asking if you read the studies that were footnoted and set forth in
Oh.
4542.
So I misunderstood your question.
May have been a poor question. I'm prone to that. So going back to my question, I'll try it again. 4542 is foundational to one or more of your opinions, right?
Yes,
And that ruling references a number of studies and reports, including the Eakin studies. Did you read, beyond reading the footnotes, did you read the studies and reports that are referenced in 4542?
as I stated earlier, I read portions of those studies. I did not read them word for word or in their entirety.
Did you read those portions of those studies contemporaneously when you're reviewing 4542? Or just had previously read some and had a general understanding of them?
I read them or at some point during the course of preparing my expert report. I don't recall exactly when.
And again, it would have been, in my words, basically a cursory review of those reports that were identified in the at least 4542. Would that be a fair characterization of what you did?
Yes,
Okay. And then one of the other foundational rulings, though you didn't talk about it, is ruling 1169. Do you remember reading 1169?
yes,
Okay. And did you read all of those footnotes and the reports and studies that were identified in 1159?
I would have.
I'm sorry, before you drafted your report?
I would have read the footnotes. I don't recall which reports the footnotes may or refer to, so I can't answer that
Okay.
portion of your question.
And did you read State Engineer Ruling 6254 and 6255?
Yes,
And did you read those footnotes and reports or analyses that were identified therein?
I would have read those footnotes. Yes,
But how about the studies and the analyses in those studies, if any, that are set forth in 1169?
I don't recall what reports or studies the footnotes refer to, so I'm not able to answer that question.
And I actually meant, we talked about 1169, I was referring back to 6254, same question, and 6255. Did you read any of the studies, analyses, or reports that may have been either set forth in the body or in the footnotes to the best of your recollection today?
Well, again, as I said, I would have read the footnotes. I don't recall off the top of my head what reports or studies those footnotes refer to, so I can't answer your question.
Do you remember there was a pump test, 1169 required a pump test, correct?
Yes,
And if that began in 2010, it ended in roughly 2012. I don't think we'll have much pushback on that. Do you understand that generally?
I believe the time period for the pump test was 2010 to 2012, yes.
And then there was a period of time before 6254 came out and 6255 came out. It came out in January of 2014. All that, at least generally.
I don't remember the month, but 2014 is what I do recall.
And do you remember, sir, that at the conclusion of the pump test, the state engineer solicited the opinions of the various stakeholders with respect to the results from 1169? The pump test itself?
I do recall that,
Did
yes.
you read all of those reports and studies and analyses that were submitted to the state engineer in support of 6255 and 6254?
I did not review all of the reports and studies that were presented. I read the summary of the reports that were presented as they were described in ruling 1309.
We're talking about 6254 and 6255.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6254. I did not. I did not review those.
And then 5712 is one of the things you looked at. Did you read that thoroughly, including all of these citations and footnotes and studies that may have been presented?
Ruling 5712?
Yes, sir. That was the last ruling Mr. Hutchins subject,
Yes, I read that ruling and I would have read the footnotes.
but not necessarily the studies or analyses set forth therein.
If the footnotes refer to studies and reports, I can't say whether I reviewed those or not.
Okay. And
without having the footnotes in front of me.
And then you read, you talked about 1303. And you understand, sir, that 1303 followed a period of time when there were public workshops that had been done by the state engineer or held by the state engineer?
I'm not sure I can answer that question.
Okay. Well, is Stephen Reich one of your partners, correct?
Steve Reich is a partner of mine, that's an engineers, yes.
Did you know that Mr. Reich participated in that public workshop process?
Which public workshop process are you referring to?
We do some foundation for you in time. And one of the foundational documents you looked at in connection with your opinions is something identified as the May 16th, 2018 letter from the state engineer. You recall that?
Yes,
In fact, that's part of your report. You referenced that, correct?
Yes,
And do you know that following the issuance of that, that letter, that there began a public workshop process, and that lasted for 18 months or so? Do you understand at least generally?
that would have been in the 2019 time period.
Sorry to interrupt you, it would have been 18 through late, the fall of 19, just that time period.
Yeah, I wasn't a participant in any public workshops, so I really can't speak to when they occurred or what was said or what was done during those workshops.
Right, my question was, you remember Mr. Wright actually participated in that public workshop process?
I wasn't part of them, and I don't know to what extent he participated in them.
Fair to say then that you didn't look at all of the scientific evidence, the stakeholders' position papers, in fact, Mr. Wright's position paper that were submitted to the state engineer prior to the entry of Order 1309 and prior to the entry of 1303?
I did not look at the position papers that you're referring to.
Okay, and you know the 1309, the issuance of that ruling was preceded by hearings before the state engineer where experts came forward and testified?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Sure. You talked about 1309 and you gave some of your opinions based upon 1309. My question is, did you understand that preceding that was a hearing before the state engineer?
Yes,
And that stakeholders who had an interest were entitled to present expert testimony, expert reports that were to be considered by the state engineer in connection with issuance of 1309?
yes, I'm aware of that.
Did you read any of those reports or opinions or studies that were submitted to the state engineer prior to the ruling 1309 being issued?
I read the state engineer's summary of those reports.
Did you read your partners?
Excuse me?
Did you read your partner's report?
No. I read the state engineer's summary of all the reports that were submitted during that and as they were described in ruling 13 or order 1309.
Okay. All right, let me go back to the foundation where we started, where you started with Mr. Hutchison, the first day of your testimony. You were retained in 2001 by Mr. Bill Coulthard, right?
I think I testified I was retained in 2022
By Mr. Coulthard?
by Mr. Coulthard's law firm.
And I heard you say that on direct examination that you spent $150,000. Was that in the preparation of your report?
I testified that to date from my initial engagement in 2022, we had probably billed on the order of $150,000. So that would have included any work that was performed from the date the contract was executed through the present day.
Do you recall telling me that you spent 100 hours preparing for your deposition?
If I said that in my deposition, yeah, that sounds probably about right.
Okay. Do you have, and again, I'm looking for your best understanding, how much time, when I say time, how much money was incurred by Stetson in preparing its expert report, setting aside the deposition time and preparation for the deposition? Your best understanding?
Just for preparing the expert report?
Yes, sir.
Including all the maps and tables and research that went into preparing that report?
Correct.
That's difficult to answer.
I don't want you to guess if you don't have a fairly good understanding of what you expended. But when I heard your testimony, I thought, oh, he spent $150,000 on the report. I misunderstood it. That's collectively from 2021 or 22 through essentially today's date.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Stetson Engineering, is it based in California?
Stetson Engineers. Our headquarters is in San Rafael, California. That's the office that I manage.
The Stetson, I'm sorry, Rick. I think you're Stockton, you're not, and I need to be more polite. I don't mean to interrupt you. Does Stetson do work for Albert Sino or any of his related entities, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, we have.
You still do, don't you?
My work specifically involves the work that's associated with this current matter. I have not been in any other projects or work for casinos.
Okay, well, it's a broader question, and only if you know, is Stetson, any employee, engineer, or whatever, doing work for Albert Sino Jr. or one or more of his related entities, to your knowledge?
I can't answer that question because I don't know the current projects or the status of those projects or the agreements and who they might be with. I know about my project and this project as it relates to the Coyote Springs water rights.
Okay, so you clarified my question. You said currently. Do you know, and again, just foundationally, do you know whether or not Stetson has performed work for Mr. Sino or any of his related entities prior to today's date?
I would say I think work was performed for or on behalf of the Sinos. I can't speak to any of the details because I personally was not involved with any of that work.
Do you know the name A&D Builders as an entity related to Albert Sino Jr.?
No,
Okay, how about Albert D. Sino Construction Company?
I may have heard that name.
Do you know what type of work and for what period of time Stetson has performed work for one or more of the entities?
I'm going to repeat my answer. The work that I've done is specific to this matter. I can speak to the work that I've done in this matter. I can't really speak to any other work that may have been done or may currently be in the process for the Sinos that others are performing or have performed in the past.
Okay. One of the things you said on direct examination is that you do some monitoring within the scope of what your services are, what you provide to clients. Did you testify to that, or you recall testifying to that?
I don't recall. I think if I used the term monitoring, I probably would have been more specific. Can you be more specific?
I thought you said part of what you do for your clients is some monitoring, and perhaps it was related to just monitoring wells and the amount of pumping that has been issued from a well.
Yeah, I've been involved in projects that involve monitoring different parameters, including well water monitoring.
You haven't done any monitoring for CSI as it relates to the scope of your employment in this case, is that true?
That's true.
Okay. You testified on direct that you have appeared before the state engineer 80 to 100 times, right?
Yes,
And it was your best guess, the best range.
it was a while ago, so yes, it was an estimate.
When you say it was a while ago, you mean the last time you testified for the state engineer, or last time Mr. Hudson asked you a question?
When I first testified before the state engineer, it was in the mid-1990s. And over the course of 10 years, I testified continuously in front of the state engineer. And then on other occasions, more recently, I've testified in front of the state engineer also.
It was the most recent one, the 2015 time period?
Yes,
That was the Granite Peak case?
Yes.
And who was your client? Granite Peak or Baker Ranches?
The client was Baker Ranches and an irrigation company called Second Big Springs Irrigation Company.
We'll talk about that report in a bit, but going back to the number of times you've been qualified as an expert, your best approximation qualified by the Nevada State Engineer was 25%. Does that sound accurate to your testimony the other day?
Well, just to clarify, I was formally qualified to testify as an expert during administrative hearings in front of the state engineer. I was qualified formally as an expert in aerial photo interpretation and an expert in water rights and an expert in surface water hydrology. During the course of the 80 to 100 or so Newlands irrigation project water right transfer cases, I was originally qualified as a factual witness, and then my recollection is over some period of time, maybe 6 or 7 years into those transfer hearings, I was allowed to. I was asked questions, and I was allowed to provide opinion. It wasn't really a formal process where I was requalified as an expert, but I was allowed to give, like I said, allowed to answer questions and offer opinions with regard to the aerial photographs that were interpreted as part of my work on that project. And I was guessing that that occurred somewhere around 3/4 of the way through that process, which involved between 80 and 100 hearings.
Okay, so I
All right,
think,
we'll recess now for lunch.
Yes.
Reconvene at 1:15.
yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Honor.
And that'll be the first half of the day here with W4Nevada Live. Thank you for tuning in for our continued coverage, day 12 of Coyote Springs versus the state of Nevada over $1.5 billion takings claim. It was very, very, like, this is the longest we've gone. It's noon at the buzzer. We'll be back at 1:15. I want you to look forward to that. Please do look forward to the lunch update, which will be out there as well. Pass that, share that, follow if you're not following, and you can check out a few of the different news stories that are up on W4Nevada.com. That's W4Nevada.com. And also feel free to text or call. You can leave a voicemail. I can't guarantee that it'll answer it, but you can text 702-381-4295. And I want to thank you again, Carson, Clark, Churchill, Douglas, Elko, Esmeralda, Eureka, Humboldt, Lander, Lincoln, Lyon, Mineral, Nye, Pershing, Story, Washoe, and White Pine counties. Thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you at around 1 o'clock when we resume and reconvene at 1:15 for Coyote Springs versus the state of Nevada. Thank you so much.
We're not just Vegas, you're not. Read the whole map, read it. Lights don't run the state, no they don't. That's a small cap, small cap. We're not just Vegas, look around. Past the neon haze, past it. 17 counties, all of them. Different lives, same place, same soil, same soil. They think Nevada starting in on the strip. That's like judging a book off the cover it get. Vegas loud, yeah, but that's just a slice. Plenty state left once you drive past the lights. This town's where a handshake still means something. Where folks know the land and the seasons are blunting. Where work don't trend and patience is learned. Where votes still matter cause people return. We don't all gamble, we don't all party. Some folks wake early, boots dusty coffee. Some places quiet, some places spread. Some rows long conversations with your head. The state breathe wide, not stacked in a frame. Don't shrink us down to a postcard name. We're not just Vegas, no way. No way. That service talk, surface. Real Nevada, out here.